Global Health Series number 51. This is Professor Silvanus Okeke. We are still talking of health prevention. And I've always told you that health prevention is the key. That's why we are doing all this. And we are talking of life expectancy in Belgium compared to Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast. The life expectancy in Belgium is 80 years. The life expectancy in Côte d'Ivoire is 53 years. A very big contrast. We discover that this gap between Belgium and Côte d'Ivoire, which is almost 27 years, is so large that you start asking questions. Why the disparity? Why do we have this kind of gap? Socioeconomic status of a country is expected to contribute to what is happening within these two countries. The food and nutrition is another thing that will contribute to the life expectancy. Closing the gap between the rich and the poor, closing the health disparity, healthcare for the poor as compared to those of them at the top, health literacy and decision-making skills, risk factors as smoking and violence in a country, and then the quality of health services. We take them one after the other. There are 7 of them. The socioeconomic status. If you compare the two countries, Belgium is better than Côte d'Ivoire. The socioeconomic status in Côte d'Ivoire is such that those within the lower gradients of the ladder are so poor that they can't even eat 3 square meals a day. So don't expect them to live as long as 80 years. The food and nutrition there is poor. The kind of food they consume in Côte d'Ivoire, when you compare that with what they consume in Belgium. So you see the differences. Closing the health disparity gap between the rich people and the poor people, although it is prevalent in almost all countries, you still have it so bad in some of these countries like Côte d'Ivoire, where only a few rich people will go abroad for treatment, and then the other people will be suffering and you see them dying very young. Then healthcare for the poor, of course, is not there. The healthcare delivery system in Côte d'Ivoire is very poor compared to what you have in Belgium, that is having almost universal medical treatment for its people. Then talk of health literacy and decision making. The people in Côte d'Ivoire still depend so much on their herbs, on leaves and so many things to treat themselves. They can't even talk of health literacy in such a country because they can't interpret what is happening in the medical area, in the medical field. Then you have risk factors like smoking. Of course, you can hardly quantify between one country and the other because people smoke at will. But you have a lot of violence more in Côte d'Ivoire when you compare that with Belgium. The quality of health services, therefore, is very poor in Côte d'Ivoire and better in Belgium. And when you have this kind of disparity in countries, you should expect that one of the countries will be better than the other. And in our case, Belgium lives 80 years, whereas in Côte d'Ivoire they live only for 53 years. So you can see the disparity. Quality of the health services in both countries, completely different. The risk factors, different, more violence in Côte d'Ivoire. The health literacy is not there in Côte d'Ivoire. The healthcare delivery system for the poor and undeserved people are even absent in a poor country like Côte d'Ivoire. Then closing the gap between the rich and the poor, that one is almost an impossibility. The food and nutrition is poor in Côte d'Ivoire and better in Belgium. And then the socioeconomic status of poor people in Côte d'Ivoire is very highly noticeable. So when you compare the two countries, you see why people in Belgium will live 80 years and people in Côte d'Ivoire will live 53 years. A very big gap. What do we do in this kind of case? The leadership in these countries ought to look at what is happening and why the people in such countries are dying so young, and improve on all these factors, the socio-economic factor, the food and nutrition, close the gap between the rich and the poor. The health care for the poor should be improved upon. Health literacy should be what each and every country should practice. And then you advise them on smoking, reducing violence, as well as the quality of health services in such countries. It is only when things of that nature are done that you see improvement and people will live longer. Lack of physical exercises, bad drinking water, and hunger may shorten the life of people in any of these countries. And that is what we should take away today. Thank you.